for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome. This video today is a big video that I've been preparing for quite some time now. It is a video about home, about what lies most deeply in my heart, about physical ascension and a return to my illumined body. So it's a long story, so I better start, and I better start at the beginning. So you know, it's been 10 years for me. It's sort of an anniversary of when I started this work in 2011. It was just the beginning, and I didn't even know back then what I'm actually getting myself into and what my mission truly is. This became evident quite later in those few first years when I moved into the Alps, when I started a 7-year journey of amazing proportions. And it's just been an incredible journey of magic and remembrance and coming home. So today I want to talk about Aurea's ascension and what this is and what this means for me and for many souls who are on this path of ascension. And I'm going to try to present it as organically as I can. This is the most easy, natural, and simplistic thing for me to talk about, but it is also the hardest thing for me to talk about from a human heart, because it does require a deeper understanding of why certain things happen and continue to happen the way they do, and the intelligence of spirit as the great mother and father of all life. So there's always a spark in my eyes when I talk about ascension and home. And today, I want to begin at the beginning, which is Aurea, my spirit mother. So as you know, I've been going through a very difficult, tumultuous time in my life where I had to deal with so much transgression. And I'll explain the challenges and pitfalls of ascension too a little later in the video. So get ready. But first I want to start with the beautiful part. And as I was going through this transgression, it was shown to me, there was this vision of my life and my ascension, almost like a message that is not meant for me to die a physical death, especially induced through transgression and inception of the dark Antichrist forces at work. These forces are not only the Antichrist as an essence, right? But they're also beings. They're also manifest beings that are working through different levels of life and creation that work very hard to prevent this plan, the mother's plan of ascension. And I'll explain a little more about that later in the video as well. But what happened for me as the most magical thing as I was enduring this very difficult time and almost like lying on my deathbed for over a year, is someone from my group had a dream about me, but it was a very simple dream. It was a name Aurea, simply written in those ancient movies, you know, these old movie screens. They have this black and white screen letters, and it was written Aurea 2021. At first, I didn't know what that means, but now I do. And I know it's about Aurea's ascension and my ascension and the plan for the human divine child that is ascending through me. So I am, as a human being, only her counterpart, which means I'm a human extension. I'm her, what I call her human love child, what she created. But as a being, as a spirit being, which is my highest divine intelligence and presence, I am a light being. And a light being, as most people don't understand in this world of confusion, is not the same as soul. You know, people will often say, well, we're all light beings. No, not really. It's not the truth. A light being is a soul that has become so advanced that it created a luminous eternal body in which they reside in. And in this luminous body, they get to jump and shift realities and timelines. So they have these missions and callings. So the world of illumined light beings is rather different than the world of what we know is simply the world of humans, or even the world of souls, the realm of souls. Because illumined light beings are powerful spirit presences and forces. For me, I see Aurea more like this white rushing fireball, a ball of white fire. It's just pure sacred white fire. And she's so cleansing and so pure in that sense, in that regard, that instantaneously, just by being her and remembering that I'm her, there's powerful sacred fire running and flowing through me. And also her essence I would describe as the essence of the mountain waterfall. That's why I resided in the proximity of waterfalls for over 7 years now, and it was just the most amazing thing to encapsulate and be with in this lifetime. She knew where I had to be. She knew that she needs to place me in the most sacred treasure gem of an environment and the landscape that will feed and nourish my human being. So as I recall sharing with you already, there was a plan within Illumined Union mission team that there would be an aspect of consciousness of the feminine source vibration, or the feminine Christ principle, to be embodied in this lifetime on earth, to bring about a powerful avatar frequency that would seed what we call the planting the seed of new Illumined Union, which was always in continuation, but due to forces of this intervention of darkness was sort of put on halt and it was stopped. I was this embodiment, actually, this Illumined Avatar embodiment that, most people would not receive because I'm simply just plain old human, and that's the mission. I was always receiving this same sacred calling and guidance that I needed to be hidden. I needed to just appear as just this random girl, just talking and wandering around and strolling along, because that's the human counterpart. And although I didn't find it as important, it's the human in me that did most of the work, because that's where the seed of Illumined Union was buried, in the most unfamiliar aspect that most people would render as not as important. And in a way, it was hidden from forces of the dark to do even greater works of evil against that counterpart. So as Aurea created me, she did not create me alone, and I'll talk about that as well. Because myself, that aspect, I'm in eternal union with the counterpart, which is my twin soul essence known as Aurea Aureon. And these are like powerful Elohim spirits, Elven Elohim, that's what I was shown, who are moving their powerful manifestation of that sacred love and tantric union through waves of creation, as many light beings do. But light beings are also witnessed, as how I see them, they're jumping into realities and realms, and we're like jumpers. We jump into the world and then we can also jump out. But I'll explain some of the difficulties of doing that actually as we become physical embodiments. So going through those years and years, I was just getting to know more about myself and the mission and the purpose. And the mission became very extreme in the last few years. But all of a sudden, last year, when I realized I'm needing to move through this transgression and that this will be the last legacy I'm here to do, and that this was sort of needed from me to experience and to pierce through, because it was decided by the Illumined Council of Light that I be the one to do so, and I volunteered. And I'll explain to you that it was no easy notion, and that not everyone within the team itself believed that this would be possible, and that I could actually, as a human counterpart, live through that. Because remember, I've shared this before, that many illumined light beings cannot withstand Earth for very long. They can't endure the Earth's trials and experiences, so they would quit, sometimes even prematurely terminate their lifetimes. And many have come and tried, and it's very difficult to sustain the physical body by being actually an illumined being. And it's not the same as being a soul, not even a very advanced soul. It's not the same thing. There's many wise masters that have a tremendous amount of wisdom. We know one of such feminine masters is Anastasia, the Russian master. She is this, what's her calling? She is Andrusa. I think it's Andrusa. And she's with so much knowing, with so much knowledge. But it's different as the perspective that we come and embody here as Tantrika beings. So Tantrika beings, or lumen light beings working with this Tantric life force, we don't work with our life force in particularly sexual ways that humans know them. Our sexuality is very high in nature and devotion in the way that it serves life and creation. It basically creates new pathways or corridors of light, and these corridors of light come into existence when this union, tantric union, is present within both illumined counterparts. For me, that is my Aurea Aureon twin essence. And before I say more about the challenges of this mission and the last steps of the mission being physical body illumination and therefore ascension, let me first show you who Aurea is. So I was blessed because last year someone from my group actually painted Aurea, and I didn't even tell her to do so. So this woman is a beautiful painter and artist, and she showed me that work, and it was actually when I was at the lowest point that I got to witness that painting, and I was mesmerized, and it was this pull of knowing and remembering. And then somehow, because I was moving around so much, I didn't get that painting physically as well. But this year magic happened, and the beautiful being said to me that she finally feels called to send me the painting, which means Aurea returned to me. I was finally able and ready to fully embody her, which, you know, is in alignment with the dream of another beloved, another beautiful enlightened being in my group, Aurea 2021. This is the year, and I've had this transgression shifted over and over again, and as difficult as it was for my human counterpart, I'm feeling finally my human inner child is being healed, is being uplifted, and it's remembering its true source of love. And the only source of love that I actually require at this time is Aurea's love, is self-love through my mother. And she is a part of the greater mother of life stream of beings, because there are greater conjoinments of this light essence and how beings cooperate and work together. But we had a beautiful meditation with Master Jesus, and he confirmed, he said, Aurea, she truly is the liberator of souls. Because I can't describe her. When I feel her, when I'm in her power essence, she is pure magic, you know, Aurea, my higher aspect, the spirit. She's so sacrificial. She stays with such devotion. She will fight for every soul. She will, you know, lash out evil. She will fight evil spirits away. You know, I had moments of these Aurea tantrums when I went on the mountain cliff and I was there and the wind started blowing. You know, you remember I was calling the wind Aurea wind. It was a very intense wind, but it was not cold, which is an aspect of darkness. This was a very pleasant, intense wind, but it was warm kind of wind, nurturing. And with that came this powerful surge, and I started speaking her language, Aurea's creation language, the language of the ancient elementals, because this language actually has the power through the Elohim presence, because Aurea also has an Elohim aspect. It's like working with these elemental frequencies, that awakening, they're awakening these primordial elementals and also generating the birth of new elementals. And with that, there's an awakening happening at the primordial creation level. This is why years ago I received guidance that I'm actually a creation pillar, and that it's a difficult thing for the human to understand what that is. But it's in relation with the 64 pillars of creation, which are the foundational principles of life, presented as the forces of the feminine creation aspect of source. And these aspects would be different things. And Aurea is the seal of life that represents liberation. So therefore she is the white sacred fire. And remember those years when I was really wakening up to her, I was wearing all white, and I really felt that my body reflects her. The difficult thing is that now after the transgression, my body no longer feels like it's reflecting her, because it, you know, received so much damage to my DNA, my adrenal gland system, and so much exhaustion happening through the burning of that fire, which is the destructive fire, and the usage of what these beings that are the Antichrist forces are using, the death ray frequency. That's not just a Star Wars thing. This actually exists, my beloveds. And I experienced that, and these death rays were piercing my body at so many levels. And you can imagine how badly these beings do not want Aurea's plan of divine action to come to fruition. They so badly work and so hard for her to not ascend through my human counterpart and finish her work. They're doing all in their power. So imagine if they've tried for years and years to prevent this, how powerful this mission must be. And it's not a thing in which, you know, I would somehow have something from it or gather an audience or, you know, worship myself. It has nothing to do with that. But I know Aurea, and I know her power because I've witnessed and experienced it through myself time and time immemorial, over and over again. There were moments when I laid dead already, and she summoned me up, and through her sacrificial love, she's lifted me up, and she's able to do that with other souls as well. She's so full of life. She is the epitome of life itself. She's an amazing, powerful being, and the more I embrace the fact that I am her, I can get to embody this. And I'm feeling really finally called to embody her, not just through these bits and pieces, but like absorb all of her. And just recently I told her, because she managed to pull through something very difficult, and I said to her, Aurea, you are such a magical miracle worker. And she said to me, but remember that I live in you, so you are that same miracle worker. That's the thing. It is not a separation once we get to embody who we truly are, and we're letting that flow of life in, and life becomes this greatest spirit mystery you've ever known in life. For me, was lived from the perspective of creation angels, not a mere human, which is why it was so difficult for me to connect with people at the level that they live their lives, or for them to even connect with me. And there was always kind of like this little distance in between. It was difficult for my human counterpart, you can imagine, to not have what other humans would have and experience, but it was a part of the life calling. So I'll show you Aurea, the way she was painted through this beautiful being. And this painting really resonates. I actually drew her myself, but I don't have such amazing drawing capabilities and gifts. So I'm just going to show you. That's Aurea. And you can see the beauty in her eyes. And we just paste her like this. And it's just, you see all this green here and this red, this vitality, like she brings fruition to life. And all these codes here, right? You can see these things swirling. They're like her powerful reinforcements, like her light language that she's speaking, and all that she is in her powerful elven heart here at the ruby kind of core. I'm feeling that very intensely. And her name actually being written, Aurea, with the red letters. Red is blood. Red is life, life force, power of life. Dynamic sustenance of life, the pulsation of life. And that's how I feel her. She's so full of life, and with that organic component of life, she brings life to that which has nearly died off already, and to situations that have been so stalemate like, and so much, let's say, pierced through the darkness, and she's still able to pull through and pull the light into those situations. And that's why sometimes I had it so difficult, and she pulled through me anyway. And there was moments when she created such powerful miracles through me that I couldn't even believe. But she kept insisting and saying, because of who you are, you do that. And I'm so mesmerized by this drawing, so we'll have it framed. And it's a little torn here. And it's about the scars that she also, experienced through my human expression extension. But I really like that. And this symbol here, it's like the crystalline coating coming through. But it's just something in her face that it's so full of grace. So anyway, it's not, people will start thinking now I don't look physically like her. It's not about that. That's the essence that you feel in her, what's in me. And I really started to, without any shame, without any doubt, know my truth and speak about it openly. And we're getting now to the part in which I have to say the truth about her physical ascension plan. So, as you know, I recently, as I was going through this transgression period, was going through stages of my life in which I was constantly, having this question to stay or to go. Will my human continue living this human life, or will I finish it and return home? Okay, so we're gonna cover that part next, and what this ascension is, and the true meaning of that physical ascension, and what she wanted to experience and establish through me. And in the last year, she kept insisting and telling me that she has a plan. And even though when I couldn't see it, I was at my worst, I thought, well, that's it, the journey ends here, and we maybe weren't successful. She kept saying, but I have a plan. Don't stop now. Persevere. Have persistence. And in truth, it really paid off. So a lot of people don't want to take that into their hearts. That this human realm, this human reality is not what most of us think. That this human realm is full of matrix, deception, delusion, things that are not real. Our reality seems very real. But for lumen light beings, this reality isn't real. For us, this is a template where we come and have missions. This is not for me a place to stay. This for me is not a place of home. It's not my residence. So sometimes I would kind of already indicate to people that I will leave. And it would trigger people. And they would say, yeah, but you might still experience this and that. And that's the thing. They don't know. Let me tell you the truth. Even my own physical human counterpart doesn't know. I was actually, through my Illumined Light family, given a time frame. I was given a time frame of my staying here and how much longer I have like this time frame before this golden gate of ascension opens up. And it's not just for me, but it's also about many ascending souls who've chosen this. And Aurea has come to demonstrate that for them. And I've been having over the years people telling me these dreams in which I came to them and I was training them and helping them and teaching them in a way. And it was happening at the spirit level, because the spirit level has no limitation and it's timeless, and it doesn't know the barriers of matter in which, you cannot be two places at the same time, because illumined beings, light beings, can do that. So, in this last year, all of my life overturned towards the Christ path and the illumination of the human body. It is the greater paradox here that it takes pouring of that liquid light quotient to ascend the human counterpart, because this is what physical ascension is. We're ascending the human counterpart through that seed of light configuration. But what is actually happening in the process, the more light you're bringing into the human body, the more difficult it actually gets for this human that receives so much of that liquid light to stay and remain physical. So I'll have to be very, very honest with you that although I was very brave and I persevered through one of the darkest experiences a being can have, and the entrapments, the contraptions that were placed in me and all around me that I managed to pull through, it's like they told me no one ever did that before. That's what the Illumined team said. They said this was a total victory. No one ever managed to perform such an extreme amount of breakthrough. However, you have to know that this left a permanent imprint on my physical human body. It left a toll and a damage through which I have to live. I have to live with that as I'm still physical. And I'm having these hot flashes and burning sensations and a lot of experiences that are now purging my body and preparing my body to already go into the next stage, into the next level. Because I'm constantly tired and fatigued most of the time. I would have extreme human elevated moments, but you don't see most of me because I gather a lot of energy so I can put it in this video and share with you. But then I have this reservoir of energy of how much I can handle, and then again I can't. It's going to take a while for me to replenish again. And so because of that, it's been extremely difficult for me to remain in the human form. And sometimes I've been feeling like my human just can't sustain being physical anymore. It's almost like my energy has already been building into the next body, which is the Illumined body template that I've been talking about. And I've already come here as an Illumined being. So for me, it's a little different, the process. And in cases where most souls are doing that alchemy of the soul for the first time, because souls who will ascend will for the first time ever create their radiant luminescent bodies. Some people call this the rainbow body. I don't have such a name because again it's fixed into something we've learned or studied about. This is something you have to have your innate spirit connection with, and it's step-by-step preparation that only your soul and your higher spirit aspects through your monadic I am presence will guide you through. And the only thing Aurea was able to do is penetrate with her own, demonstration of that through this realm. She had other assignments too. After this transgression, a law was elevated, and I was once again reminded of this dream I had many years ago. I've shared it with you many times before, I believe, in which I saw Divine Mother's hand reaching through me, and that hand became my hand. Her hand became mine, and there was these rainbow beads that were representing these different souls, and these souls were almost falling through a sink or a sinkhole and into the mud through a pipe, and I was doing like this to pull them upwards, and only a few remained, and I was looking devastated like, oh no. And then the voice of the mother said, yes, but only those few. And it was very apparent from an early stage on in my life that I'm here through Aurea's presence for only those few souls that would get to choose that ascension, and it would help to demonstrate and pull them through the golden gates of ascension, which is occurring through the cosmic Christ presence in this universe that I'll talk about in the cosmic Christ activation material one day. So That was one of the things. The second thing was working with the sacred portal of what I called the New Earth, the New Dawn, which was located around a location around my twin lakes. And whenever I came to that spot, I received powerful illuminating messages, and it was just amazing. And I was having this mission. So it was very difficult for me to receive a message when I moved out of the Alps. One day I returned, I went to a trip there, and it felt different. It just felt the same, but yet different. And the message that came through was, now close the portal, it's time. This is no longer necessary. And once they did that, the next day, next time I came again, and I saw these light beings jumping in and out. And they said, look what we've created. We've now created this flow of transparency through which many light beings can now start more easily coming to this plane of Earth. So this is what we were doing through this portal. And it was an amazing configuration that I, as a human, did not fully understand. I'll tell you that honestly. But I knew it was real because the messages were so transparent and downward, simplistically obvious. That was one thing. The third thing was very personal, through which Aurea had to come and pick up the soul that was actually one of her children. You know, souls, illumined beings will create their extensions. And that was my mother in this lifetime. And that's why I always felt such an affinity and love and affection for her. And it was happening in a way, the dynamic of this relationship, as she was my child, and she was feeling it the same way, and she was telling me all along, I love being your child, I love being in this role, I feel it's authentic, it's divine. It wasn't a role you assigned to someone, it was just natural through the soul level. Not all soul beings would relate to each other in the same manner. There's these familiar relations being built, and it's all a part of creation of life. It's how things are. So I knew from a very early stage on as well that this is something I need to do. So I was very persistent with her, because she was one of those old ancient souls on the planet Earth, but didn't start her journey on Earth. She was, again, a star being. But during the Earth, many souls fall, and they have to experience and endure very difficult lifetimes. You know, she had experienced a tremendous amount of torture and lifetime inflicted through pain. This is how, you know, the Antichrist operates, because inflicting pain through the human bodies creates a tremendous amount of distortion and disconnection with that, what we call the body of Christ. So for her to assimilate her body of Christ again was a difficult task. But I was shown she's the best choice, and she will do it if I'm persistent enough. And she's chosen it, but it wasn't definite that she will choose it in this lifetime. But she did, and she was pulled through. And that's why, with all the assurance, I can tell you and guarantee you she will ascend, because she came into her body of Christ successfully. She wasn't always as radiant as she is now. She had to do a tremendous amount of work. And she was very feisty. She didn't take it lightly. She wasn't lazy. She worked on herself day and night. She did many exercises. She constantly spent time in her alone moments, and also in moments where she needed to isolate and, you know, did do this inner work and gather her own messages, and all that built up towards her receiving her own Christ connection. And that's when she also started channeling the Christ just as her brother, and it was very organic and automatic. And she also, through that time when I had my inception through the transgression, actually was able to help me, because she was already in that space. And I often wondered why they did not choose her to inflict pain on her, because if they pick her, then I'm half dead, because I have no one to assist me at that particular very vulnerable time for the human body. But it was kind of, again, another intervention, and it was chosen so specifically that she was ready, and she was there in the Christ presence all this time with me. And you don't know how many hours we just spent on medicating my physical body. This is not in any recording. This is not in any camera, especially in the last 3 months of the winter this year, starting last year. All I did was lie in that bed, and she was just channeling so much of that cosmic healer energy. She was working and is working with this particular group of cosmic healers and specific masters, and they were all telling me, don't give up. And believe me, I wanted to. It was that bad. And still, divine intervention exists, and Aurea had a plan. So that's point 3. Fourth point is Aurea came to build a specific configuration that's called the Golden Gate of Ascension. Each particular timeline of ascension has to have a specific template, or the the energies that need to kind of be a foundational space, which is what the creation pillar means. You're not just a pillar of a specific essence and you exist and hold a space for that, but it's also building a configuration of light that is necessary and required for the light quotient to come through which that gate, the souls would then be ascending. So they call this the cosmic Christ Trinity, the gateway that we're holding. And they told me once when we were doing the pulsar with my galactic light family, they were saying, we're building this and you don't even know what we're doing, but we're building this golden gate and no one has done it before in such a way. So it was something very new. Yes. And this is something also that happened before the transgression. And I don't know how things maybe would happen differently if I did not experience that, but it was prophesied in a way, destined that this happens as well, because it was one of the most difficult missions that was chosen, that we pierced through this matrix system that became so deeply anchored through these almost like hooks, and tentacles, that it prohibited and is still prohibiting many souls to ascend. And many souls who are actually battling with light and dark within themselves are actually battling the darkness, fighting for these souls. And Aurea, at the same point, she's fighting for these souls as well. That's why I always get her messages. We're fighting for specific souls. And at this moment, there's still a battle going on. But in regards to ascension, I want to start this next chapter, which is the 5th point. The 5th point is this beloved inner tantric union that I always held within my twin soul configuration, purpose and simply creation pillar essence, which I call the Aureon. Aureon first appeared to me, I think, in 2013 when I moved to the Alps. And when I first encountered upon him, I was in awe. I was in shock. And after that, I started doing these beloved paintings and channelings, and it was just profound, the love pouring through me. It was like, this is it. There is no such love here in this human realm. I cannot feel it in anyone and experience anywhere. This is love of such high proportions, of such magnitude. It's so sacrificial. It's so devoted. It's so fixed. It's so strong. Nothing can break it. And my mother actually told me, I'll tell you the last part in the message that came from home just recently when I was visited by home, the message about the ascension plan at this particular time. I asked her, because I was still in a vulnerable space, and I asked her to help channel Aureon through and get his message. And you know what she said afterwards? Because she had a dream about him also, I think around 2015, and he appeared to me like this. She said he was such a glowing presence I cannot describe, and this unfathomable amount of love that this being exudes. And I'm like, yes, that's my love. That's him. And I never talk about him because it's just so sacred to me. And I talk more about knowledge and these things in general. But just feeling him, for me, it's like, oh, it's the greatest arousal that you can know. You can't believe that this kind of love exists. When you're a human and you remember that kind of love, you're beyond words. There's no words. Okay? So what she said to me in this latest message transmission, she said to me, you know what I noticed when I tune into Aureon or when I tune into Jesus the Christ? She said they're two totally different energies. Jesus is very much like this, masterful, loving as well, pure, devoted like this. She said, but Aureon, he's like, oh my God. She starts crying when she's in his presence, and I do the same. So I'm going to share the message from home. This was last week. I had a very difficult day in particular for my human self and my human counterpart. And then what happened was I started crying out of nowhere. And then I felt a presence. And it was a miracle actually and a blessing, because during the transgression years, I could not feel him. And I have to be honest, what the darkness has done, and I experienced this particularly the last few months, they put an overlay, they put an inception about him and me into my field. So I would read this distortion, and they created these images. We received them through dreams and when meditating, and we went into this panic mode. We started worrying because they were showing this images that something's wrong with him, and he's dead and things like that. And we were like, what? There was such distortion there. And the funny thing is I didn't feel it like it's alive, like the energy is alive. I was just starting to panic, but I didn't feel it has substance to it. That's how illumined beings know. We feel the essence. We are farsighted, and I could feel that. There's weird, but let's investigate this anyway. So we did a lot of work, and I was working with the Rainbow Chamber of Light. And then what happened was this one day it just dissolved and I could no longer feel it. And I realized that was an inception. And that's why I couldn't feel him, because they created this barrier between us, because our love is so strong and potent that love in itself is the gift of life and the gift of the ultimate ascension, through which my human counterpart will ascend. So I will not ascend intellectually or doing ascension exercises or activations. I will ascend through our love, because it's the love that we are that brought forth my human counterpart, and it's that love that will take me back home into his embrace. So he visited that day and I felt him. I was looking at the beloved painting I have. It's called The Kiss. It's two beings under the surface of the water, in a beautiful, beloved, gentle kiss. And all around them are these white lotuses spread around the ocean and, this water. And they're kind of like holding this state of purity. This is the purest love I've known. And he did not always come to me often, let me tell you that, because he explained to me that the more he comes, the more I get yearning sensation to leave. Because when you're in the presence of that love, you want it. You don't want to be here when there's such, difficult conditions. A lot of you who are illuminating yourselves are feeling more and more of that it's difficult to be sustained on earth, and that you don't see this world for yourself anymore. And you are probably mostly correct. So when he came through, I started crying. I was crying the whole day, and it was longing kind of tears. It wasn't that sad, depressed feeling. It was just this feeling of, I miss you so much. I love you so much. And it was just that, what's the next step? So I asked my mother to help me channel the message, and we both basically felt the same thing. She received it through words and I received it through feeling, and then we compared and it was basically the same message. So I'll read you the message I wrote down with words, and this was the message from home. Aureon came and he said, specifically, first he said that he's actually okay, which was first addressing the terrible distortion that the dark started to, try to put is in this interception between the two of us. So the flow of who we are and what we bring to this world was prohibited. He said he misses me so much, and that the chair at the spot beside him has been empty all this time. There's a presence. It's an aspect of me, but it's the void of life, because my life essence moved here for the purposes of this mission. So when I went for this mission, what he said, I actually said that I can do it. And we both knew that I could do it. And many light beings at that particular time did not fully know and believe me. They were not fully assured that this is something that's possible. They were skeptical. Even light beings, we have experiments in these denser, lower realms. And he actually said that he knows me the most of all. And he never without a doubt in his being doubted me and what we can create through our love. He said that me and my mother, Florentina, her soul name, are his greatest love. And the moment he said that, my mother started crying. It's like, when there's tears present, there's an energy there. There's substance to it. That's why when that message of panic came through, I didn't cry like out of panic, because there was nothing there actually. When the energy is alive, your heart will feel it and it will flutter with joy and longing. So she, as he confirmed, is our love child. We're a family. And that it's not really sometimes my human self thinks, why am I still here? I've already done everything. He said it's not God keeping me here or us here, both of us, but it's ourselves. Due to us needing to be ready also at the human physical counterpart level. So in the human self, there needs to be readiness, preparedness, which is actually what he explained on earth, the most difficult part. Why? This is a difficult task on earth to achieve because so many have failed before, and I'll explain why. He said that I already completed the mission part. As I've said, I no longer have the mission. That's why I felt such a void in my life for the past year, just moving around and drifting and asking myself what this is all about. First year was just to survive. This year is about illuminating my body, and then I don't know what comes next. I was given a time frame, but I do not feel called to speak about it because it's so personal. And I won't give innuendo into what this is leading to already yet. So this mission I was assigned, I no longer have. But that perfectly matched my own inner knowing because I received the same thing. So everything I had and I knew came to a close, as you know. And that's why it felt so difficult, and it's still remaining here for some higher reason, like Aurea is saying, I have a plan. But there was one final burning question: to stay or go. And I was feeling more and more tendency towards leaving. It's not a place where I'll stay. Once it's done, once it's finished, this last part is for me. And that's what he confirmed. He said, you don't have anything anymore to do except what you feel called to do. But this part, this last part is for you. It's for the human counterpart to ascend. And he said, for my return home, they're already ready. It's all prepared, he said. But there's a different time frame here than it is on earth. He said everything is prepared, but mostly I as a human have to be ready as well. And to bring my body back into total balance and well-being, which he utterly reiterated, it is the most difficult thing on earth to do, which he fully understands, and all light beings do. And this is why this body illumination is actually the hardest thing of all, what most still doubt and not all experience. To go through all of that and still bring the body to that state, imagine, right? So this mission was completed already, and this last step is for me in this Illumined Ascension. And just as many doubted the success of this mission, it was actually successful. Yay. And he always believed in me and knew that I could do it, to persevere. And that when Florea, my mother and my child at the same time, when we get to ascend, he said it will be the most joyful celebration and experience ever, and that truly the whole planetary sphere and the mountains will shake. And I knew this was the truth because I was pouring with tears and we were both crying. So I know this is my ultimate truth because it feels simple and it brings peace to my heart. The peaceful feeling is always the right one. There's elements of my human life that sometimes still kind of try to pull me away and push me into different spheres, but they feel complex. This feels real to me. This is why I came. This is who I am. This is how I'll also leave one day. And it's effortless and natural instead of difficult and complex. It is simply organic, and it is authentic truth of my heart. And you can feel it when I exude it to you. It's not to gain anything from it. It's just to share and to demonstrate, and one day to fulfill this completely. That every last piece of the puzzle, remember, like Jesus the Christ, when he completed his piece of the puzzle, he said it's now completed. The same thing will happen with Aurea. And I've seen the vision of her ascension when I was having this first death moment, and they were showing it to me like I was just looking back towards my life on earth, and there was nothing there. It was all blank. It was all blurred. There was nothing more keeping me to this planet. And I looked forward. I saw there was an ocean and a sun going down. It was a beautiful sunset. And the more I looked towards the sunset, I stopped looking towards the earth realm, and I was facing towards the sun, and I started expanding in my consciousness until eventually I just became one with that sun, which was metaphorical. It's how consciousness then, when it's ready, expands and becomes unified with a greater self and leaves an aspect of the individuation which completed its part. And most people, as though they believe in ascension and they want ascension, they're still, when it comes to practicality and the reality of ascension, they're afraid of it. Because that means the soul is not ready to ascend yet. The soul still learns, craves experience. Not my soul, not my being. And so, it is what it is, and that's what they told me. Ascending off the planet actually creates the most powerful ripple effect, and that is why it is actually considered so dangerous by the dark forces, the Antichrist forces, and therefore it is something they are trying to prevent in every single possible way. It could have been that I would have already ascended back then, if you remember, when I was doing the pulsar and being really successful and thriving through it, being so advanced in those terms, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. The dark transgression had to happen also because it was a way out of this matrix, and demonstrating through Aurea's graceful liberation tactics what she knows and what she does with cultivating extreme amounts and currents of life force and demonstrating that to other souls, how to do that. You don't do that with the mind. You do that through life force and love and light combined in one unified light intelligence, right? And these were my words to myself back then, last week when I was in that experience. I've actually given everything that I had and all of myself to this world, all of my wisdom, love, and illumined knowing. Now I've got nothing left to give to others. Here and there, as always, I will have much to give as long as I'm here. But that which was the main charging fireball aspect of me. That's where you see my videos changing, just moving into love and just sharing and sitting with you until my last day of sitting here with you. So the only one left to be loved is me, my inner human child. And when this love of mine is that I am Aurea, fully and completely, fully absorbed, that will fully fill my cup again. And only then I shall be ready to ascend, no sooner, no later. And now I want to talk about the part through which I will explain more how the darkness works against this. Because like I said, although beings, there's people who would not wish for me to go one day in the near future, you know. And they would say, no, you know, you have so much left to give, and you have such beauty and so much to share with the world. They don't know. Aurea knows, remember that. Aurea's most powerful plan, how she will assist the most souls, will be when I actually ascend. Because that will create a ripple through which it will be pulled into that which a lot of souls desire to experience. Some maybe for the first time ever. And some who will not ascend at the soul level, they will still witness it. And for them, these are the souls that are somehow in between. And they're maybe still doubtful, but then they will see this demonstration. Something will also shift in them. And this is what Aurea has been showing me. No soul will be left behind. And that doesn't mean all souls in this cycle, but no soul that has chosen this will be left behind. And maybe they will have a different experience of ascension, but they will all be pulled through into the light of illumination and that configuration of life as the grand design. So maybe I won't get to fulfill all of my needs, all that I wanted to do as a human before I one day leave this plane of reality and existence. I won't get to do human things that I maybe still yearn for and crave for. That's okay. I'm learning now to be with that, to embrace that, and to return that love back and to fill my inner Christ radiant presence. And then to, instead of having just one direct experience that I would still crave for as a human, to remedy that, to temperate that, you know, through temperance, moderation aspect, and to sort of bring that into the balance through which more can be experienced with life, maybe for more beings than just me as a person having one particular experience that I would desire. That's how illumined love functions and operates, this devotion to a greater aspect of life. Remember, life force that's illumined always travels and goes towards its highest potential. And Aurea is the white flame. She is the sacred white fire, and she purifies, and she helps even souls who have been going really deep into darkness and can't find their way back again into the light, and they're afraid. They don't know how to swim back to the surface. And maybe some of these souls also in this physical life had a human experience with me, and they knew me maybe only as a human, but never received my love, my true essence as Aurea, and they missed the gift. But still Aurea loves them, and loves all of us, and is the love that I am. And sometimes people would tell me they would see something deep in my eyes. Well, that's Aurea. Those are her eyes. And there's depth, beauty, and great devotion to life through those eyes. That is me, that is Aurea. And so for the final few words, how the darkness transgresses, I already gave you one example, right? Today I actually broke through another layer, and I realized that until I'm embodied here, they will not stop, because I saw them, these beings, seeing me as their greatest challenge. These beings, these dark beings, have never had the greatest bite to eat than me. I'm so interesting to them. I'm seeing it when I'm looking with my farsightedness. I'm so scrumptious to them because they cannot figure out how I go through and realize every single thing that's a hoax that they put into my human self. They can't get it. What in me will expose and illuminate every single thing they try to do that I would not ascend, that I would not see, and I would fall into some sort of a hook. They can't understand, and that's why they'll never stop. Because that's how darkness is. It's going to do everything in its power, and I know that as long as I'm on the planet, I'm not safe from that perspective. My life will never be easy. It's not as extremely intense as it was before this transgression. But now that they can't reach me directly anymore because I'm so much in my glowing Christ presence, flowing through my freedom of the inner human child, it's joining of Aurea and the human, Polona, Aurea, right? Both as one. It's union. It's illumined union. And that's always the only illumined union that the Elven Elohim are calling Eluvir, that I've been teaching through these years. And it's been calling and calling through different beloved songs, and it's been the call to life, the call to anoint and cultivate this beloved. And yet they will try. So what they're doing now is they're trying to come through me through hooks, through people Because, as humans, we still have love for certain beings and humans, and we would exchange communication and communion with them. So recently I had one such connection. It's been kind of long-standing in my life. And I had this epiphany, and I sort of like said, no, I'm moving on. I have to keep on being focused, right? And then that night, same night, I had a dream. And in that dream, that being, that person was saying something to me. And all of a sudden that connection that was genuine was hijacked. And all of a sudden, I found myself in a different aspect of the dream. And I was lying in my bed, and there was whispering, this energy. I felt energy coming like through this right side of my being and my face. And they started whispering things, and it was a weird voice. It wasn't even a voice of that person. So sorry, they're not very skilled in doing that. It was kind of silently speaking and whispering things that were unreal, that were untrue, because they were trying to hook me into having a false perception about this relationship and this connection, which in truth I know what it is because Aurea has shown it to me. But they wanted to make it something else so that I would stay hooked as a human. And I would fall for it, right? So they were whispering these things to me, what they call the whispers of sweet nothingness. And it was just... they were saying these words that only I know. That person does not know them. And they were repeating them almost like, because they're in my mind. They can read my mind. They can read your thoughts. They can read anyone's thoughts, beloveds. That's the matrix. No one is safe. No one's thoughts are safe. But what lies in your heart of illumination, they cannot read because they don't understand illumined light. That's why being only in the mind is so dangerous, because they will see your thoughts and they will know them. And they're going to know what you like to hear, what you like to do, and they're going to always affirm you. That's how ego in people stays intact. It doesn't change much. Some people will not change over lifetimes and lifetimes because the darkness keeps feeding them misinformation about them. And they think, I'm all fine, I have no work to do. But underneath, there's so much work to do. And that soul remains in this lazy kind of repetitive cycle. And so when this energy whispered these words that I knew were not real, were not coming from the soul of that being, that energy suddenly, it did its thing, is whispering really silently. And then it left like almost abruptly, like, and I felt it in my body, like this buzzing frequency that I've talked about before when I had these revelation dreams in which I was breaking through the cracks of that hijacked vortex energy. In that instance, all of me was buzzing. This is what happens when the energy is broken through. Almost like the effect of electricity. When there's a lightning, then there's powerful. That's what happens because I broke through it energetically. And next instant, I look up and I see buzzing and spinning matrix grid, in which I talked about a lot before. I also made a Patreon video in depth explaining how we're illuminating this matrix. This matrix is very much similar to what we call the karmic wheel. It's not a good thing. It's an unnatural thing. It's an energetic thing. And souls keep falling for it over and over again, thinking they need to go through these lifetimes, and it's getting really repetitive. But in actuality, it's a rigid, imposed archonic system that keeps souls in a lock dance information. And very few souls actually get to be liberated and set free and remember the true origin and ascending through the love light presence of the mind and the heart of God that is the true source of all life and creation. And that true source exudes life through life force, right? Exudes that. It's not a mental thing. And even when you have dreams, souls don't communicate this way through whispers and words. They kind of interlock and have these energetic exchanges through these bonds, and you can feel them. It's an exchange of feeling. This is just devoid of feeling. That's how inception works, and you have to learn about it. So when I broke through it, I woke up the next morning. I was like showing them all of my middle fingers and saying, do you really think I'm that stupid? Probably they do, but they're wrong every single time, because my human self, even though I'm only 50-50 now, right? I'm 50% human. I still get to, solve all their riddles and puzzles and inceptions. And every time I win. So I know they're going to battle till the last beating heart of mine, till my last breath of this life. But let's see, because I'm going to fight as well. And let's see who's going to win. I already know the answer. Because I know myself, and I know Aurea. I know she's going to win, not them. They will try, as always with darkness, because they're seeing that once Aurea ascends this aspect of me, there will be rumble and tumble, and the earth will shake. It's what happened with Jesus the Christ as well. It's what happens with every powerful illumined being that comes and remembers and creates a powerful legacy of light. And there's only a few souls, only a few of you who maybe been with me for years that are not just grasping on my words, but you're really feeling the essence of my sharing. And you're maybe feeling it as goosebumps or shivers or tears, and just recognizing that this is a being in front of you that's always been nothing but pure love and authenticity, that I had no agenda. I still don't. I'm not going to take anything else with me into the next stage but myself. And so I have a few human things I still need to disseminate, as I've already shared with you, to finish, to culminate, to share some experiences I want to have. And this is still what binds me to the human realm. But during this winter turmoil time, I actually asked what was one thing binding me still to earth, and God said pain. And that's not just physical pain, it's also emotional pain, it's mental pain, and every bit and piece of that which the human counterpart feels and expressed and unfulfilled. And this is where this human journey is taking me now, is to perform the cultivation of fulfillment of that longing that the inner child still has. And the more I do that, the child is being more radiant and fed, and it's just being so happy in me. This child is getting happy again. I'm feeling happiness again. It's human happiness, but it's divine. And it's amazing because before it's all about the mission. I was always the last one on, to stand. It wasn't that important. I always put myself last because I figured that's not for now. I saved the best for the last, and so did Aurea. So if any of you want to work with me in any way, in those, let's just say, final few moments, I'm not even going to say years, because I don't know. Maybe 1 year for sure, but I don't know. I haven't seen beyond 1 year. I'm just going to say that. It's still an element of surprise there, so I'll see. But those of you who still feel you want to walk this walk with me, you're welcome. Personally, I still do sessions. I help people with spirit guidance. It's purely beautiful. And I have a Patreon page, if you know, it's called Illumined Ascension. Some of you maybe know me physically. Contact me, Don't take me for granted and my imprint. And sometimes, it's too late afterwards. So thank you for being here with me all those years. I'm not saying goodbye yet, but I did need to make this video because it's a powerful completion cycle of mine. And I've just entered this last life cycle, and I know it for sure. I don't know how and how it brings me, and I'll leave that to be surprised. I'll let my human self to be surprised. So I won't make any assumptions and conclusions. I know how things are from the higher perspective, but I'll let that be poured into the human experience naturally. And God already knows and has a plan. And I have my full faith in all that is the grand design. And as always, with so much grace and beauty, and love, wisdom, and power, take care of yourself, and I will see you. And I'm always with you. And Aurea loves you. Thank you.